We are live, everybody. Welcome to our July Book of the Month discussion for The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. I'm really excited to discuss this. I finally finished it.
Yes!
I'm not. You did it.
So proud of you.
Biggest achievement.
So now we can, so now we can talk about the spoilery things that we didn't get to go into
can.
detail. Oh, wow.
Yes. So good. Alrighty.
It's raining here, so if the sound of it bothers you, let me know and I'll chuck in headphones.
Kind of ditto as well, I'm sure. Nice ambience.
That's just a blanket remark for all of us at this point.
Yeah, it's raining everywhere.
Ooh.
Amazing. So, everyone, welcome. I hope you're excited to discuss the book with us. While we are just waiting for people to hop on, feel free to leave a comment letting us know what you thought of the book, how many stars you rate it, and we'll also go around the room and start with some non-spoilery thoughts ourselves before we dive into the spoiler section for those of you who haven't read it.
Before we start, I can do a little product plug. I have unfortunately finished my breakfast, so I won't plug Baker's Delight. But if Baker's Delight want to sponsor me to just eat this up all the time, I already do. I've been having a lot of conversations in our groups lately about how difficult it is to focus and read during a pandemic, and how we've all hit it, like everyone hits a bit of a slump. And one thing that I've found has been really good this week for getting me out of the slump is actually an app called Bookly.
We're not sponsored by this.
Oh, I have that.
I'm not sponsored by this, but if they want to sponsor me, like pro, I'd be appreciating that as well. Go away. Do you want to buy pro? No, I can't afford it. It's kind of pricey.
I wish.
But it like gives you reading stats and you can track your progress and it tells you how long till you finish the book and stuff like that. I did find another one called Book Breeze, which is a lot simpler. I'm holding this up as if anyone can see it. Just going to hold it in front of my lamp.
Do the mad, do this one. Actually, what was the first one called? I missed the name.
The first one is called Bookly, Bookly. That one is the more, that one's a lot more aesthetic and it is very beautiful and it is actually quite intuitive to use. Yeah, that's the one. It's intuitive to use. It's very expensive. So if you don't want a really expensive one, there's this other one called Book Breeze, which is the same sort of thing. It's just a lot simpler interface. Yeah, again, no one can see this. That's what I'm reading. No, pause. Accidentally pressed yes for a reading session. But I've just found that really good in terms of mindfulness and like setting aside time to read, because I'm not just reading 2 pages between other tasks. I'm going to sit down and read for an hour and I'm going to track it. So that's been helpful for me. For my reading.
I love it.
And that's our placement of the day that I wish I got paid for.
Sponsorship over.
Sponsorship over.
Alrighty.
Next month I'm going to be sponsored by shampoo and I'm going to actually wash my hair.
Look, it's only worth it if there's actually like a world to go out into.
That is correct. I have not been outside. And it is just...
I saw my sister. Oh, no, she's gone.
Oh, no, Kaz is gone. Oh, well. Okay.
Doesn't she have
control?
Then. It's chaos now. We can
I don't know.
Don.
Oh, wait,
here she comes.
She's back. Here she is.
I'm back, sorry.
Oh, hello, you're back. We were just like, Kaz. Yeah, just chilling.
Anarchy!
I was like, oh, but she is out. She basically is running the stream. Where did she go?
I'm right here. Okay, so let's start with the non-spoiler discussions, talk about our star ratings, general thoughts. Rochelle, would you like to start?
Okay. I read this as an audiobook. I gave it, I'm sitting between like a 4 and a 4.5. It's really close to a 5-star, but the way that I recognize that something is a 5-star for me is that like I pick it up and I can't stop thinking about it and I just want to like do nothing but read the book, which I found a little difficult with this one just because of the post-apocalyptic thing. It's feeling a little too close to home right now. So I was like, I really, really enjoyed it, and there were definitely like aspects about it that made me think. But yeah, it was just that little bit. I was just like, I need to not be associating with this right now. See you, bye.
No.
So fair.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Your next
Belle. Yeah.
I gave it a 4. I think I agree, Rochelle, that a 5-star book is a book that I keep thinking about after I put it down, and I can't shake and love to be in the middle of as well. So this one, I loved this book a lot. I think it is really, really good, but there's a couple of things that I was just like, I have problems with this or questions about this, and so that's what a 4-star is for me. I absolutely loved this book, but so yeah, a solid 4.
Sophia.
My turn. Oh yeah, I also gave it a 4. My general thoughts are that I loved like the premise of it. Like I loved the entire idea of it, and I love how she essentially executed all of it with a ton of like different influences and things like that. There were just a couple of things for me, like regarding especially like what Rochelle said, like it is like kind of like post-apocalyptic, so I'm just like, whoa, this is a bit too real. And some of the just like some little like nitpicky things like to do with characters and pacing, but that's really it. Kaz, your turn.
And samesies. I also rated it 4 stars. I did a bit of a mix of reading it physically whilst listening to the audiobook at the same time, because someone had left a comment on one of my vlogs saying the audiobook was really cool and had sound effects. I was like, that's really awesome. Like the opening sounds, it's just like, we are New York. And I was like, this is so cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so that was a really cool experience.
One of the sound effects that they do is whenever people laugh, they put someone laughing in, and because I listened to books at 2.5 or 3 times speed, that was real fucking weird every time it came through. It was just like it was like
that's so weird.
Yeah. It threw me a couple of times. I'm just like, my brain is not computing this noise.
It was very jarring. Yeah,
very weird to hear so sped up. But yeah, I have pretty much the same thoughts as everyone else so far. I really enjoyed it, but also didn't find myself like once I put it down, I wouldn't necessarily be racing to pick it back up again, or sometimes I need to take a breather. And I think I'm finding this with N.K. Jemisin generally. Her concepts are so cool, but also very complex. So it takes me some time to wrap my head around, which is why I think it feels a lot slower, especially towards the start, and why I'm not like racing to pick it back up again, because I need time to digest. But yeah, generally really, really enjoyed it. And I finished it 2 hours ago.
Yay! Good job.
Yeah.
Well done.
Every time.
I think one of my big issues with it was I kept forgetting it wasn't a standalone. So I kept being like, explain this more, please. I want more information about how this works. And I'm sure we're going to get more details about those things in the future. But there are a couple of sections in the book where I'm just like, I think I would understand this better if we had a little bit more information or just a little bit more time with this concept.
There's a lot of I agree with that as well. There's like a lot to like, even though it's written in a way that's like, it's not a very like, it doesn't feel like it's very dense. Like it is like, you know, a pretty chunky book, but like the text isn't that small and it's quite easy to read. But all of the ideas that she has in here, like you just like, she writes it in such a simple way, then you just have to like unpack it and you're like, what? Like, I get like, that. And you have to sit there and kind of digest it for a bit.
I buy stuff and I'm just like, okay, hold up. Let me read this.
And then a lot of, and then a lot of like commentary on like, you know, colonization and all those kinds of things to do with like Indigenous people as well, like in New York. So I thought that, yeah, like it's not just, you know, I feel like she had a lot of fun writing this. Like I feel like having only read the 5th season, have not read the other 2, but I will do it. Based off like kind of comparing the 2, not to say that like, you know, the 5th season is a lot more like, you know, dense and like serious, but I feel like she had a lot of fun writing The City We Became, because it's also essentially like a love letter to her city. And I loved how she like, you know, essentially personified all the different like boroughs and things like that. Like I thought that was so fun, and having like dedicated sections to kind of, you know, explaining and showing how each like suburb works and essentially what they personify and what they embody. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. A trend I noticed from the Brisbane group, that everyone who has actually been to New York gave the book 5 stars, because they were like, no, this captures the atmosphere perfectly. I'm like, I don't have anything to compare it to because I've not been there, so I don't know, but I believe you. So everyone that's been to New York loved it.
I feel like anyone that like lives in New York, has been to New York, or like loves the city in general would adore this book. But because I think I went to New York when I was like a kid, so I don't remember anything about it at all, and I don't have any like fond memories of it, so I can't connect with it as much as I feel like people in New York or people who have been to New York would. So I mean, if this book was about Sydney, maybe, but then again, is like Sydney really worth writing about? I don't know. It's an interesting city.
Yes, interesting indeed.
I do want to see what a personification of Sydney would look like, but also at the same time, I would probably want to punch them in the face.
Yeah,
I
feel that way about
what would the Shire look like?
I don't want to know.
What would Brisbane look like? What would Brisbane be like as a person?
Brisbane is just a bogan. I guarantee you, it's just a bogan, and I would get so frustrated.
A scooter in hand, you know, just like, you know, that vibe.
It'd be stupid. It'd be
Shouldn't it be a businessman in a backpack with a backpack? Maybe like some running shoes.
Or Brisbane would definitely just be like, yeah, no, whatever, man. Just chill. We'll just hang. It's fine. Brisbane would get its ass kicked as a city. Guaranteed. It would be way too lazy to actually be like, oh, we should probably deal with this.
What is this weird enemy? I don't know. Let's just hang back and chill.
Thinking about the areas in the I live, the personification would obviously definitely be white. Bit of beachy, likes to brunch.
Likes to brunch, yeah. Very tan, blonde. Yeah. Very into health. Health people.
Opposite of me.
As we all know what your breakfast was, yes.
Shut up.
Look, it was in theme with the book.
Yeah.
A bagel. New York. Very known for its bagels. It was in theme.
This is true. My breakfasts this week have been, I've had lemon tart, I've had a mug cake, I've had Nutella. I'm living my best life, apparently.
You are living your best life.
Look, I've had cup of noodles for my breakfast like twice this week. It's fine.
Yum.
That's what Callum has. That's what Callum does.
I just keep getting like stuff from bakeries. I go to the gym in the mornings before I eat, and then I'm really hungry, so I go and buy bread.
I didn't even realize you had the kitty with you. I'm sorry.
I've had him for ages, and I kind of love it. So, like, you just accept him. He's
part of it. Yeah, part of the group. Chonky baby. He's gonna fall asleep.
The vacuum cleaner.
Cute.
Oh
okay,
God.
so speaking of bringing us back on track. Speaking of the boroughs, from within New York, the different boroughs that we meet, which was your favorite and least favorite?
Queens was my favorite. I love Queens. I'd just be like, get that fucking nerdy shit into me.
Oh my God, right?
I'm just like, let me be your friend. I would
Queens
probably
is
get
very
along
cool.
best with Manhattan because I'm just like, I can vibe that Slytherin shit. And the one I would absolutely butt heads with the Bronx. Just I would want to be their friend, and I would just get so tired of arguing with them all the time. I'd just be like,
That
you
is
are
so
a cool
fair.
person, but man, you're a lot of energy to deal with. That would be the Bronx.
Yeah, I
What
love
I
her.
do, yeah.
But I don't know if I could be around her.
I'm
But
feeling the same.
absolutely love her. She's probably my favorite overall. But I could not be around her. She has a lot of attitude. I admire that in a woman, but so do I, and it would create conflict.
It would go bad. It would
lot
not
of
go
clashing.
well.
I didn't think about Manhattan
Yeah.
having so much energy, but I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. I think the one I just would really struggle with the most, not the Bronx, is Staten Island.
I mean, I would ignore the shit out of Staten Island. She's not even coming into
Staten
this at
Island.
this point.
Bye.
She's just like,
We don't care about Staten Island.
in the bin.
No.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. But then again, I have to say that I understood why Staten Island was the way she was and the choices that she made. Like, I completely understood where she was coming from. But, like, you know, you hear you have all your Power Rangers except for the one, and she won't join you to become the big thing to fight the enemy. And you're like, what
She's
are you
like,
doing?
the enemy is my friend.
So aggravating. But you understand it. She's so separated from the rest of them, and so much prejudice ingrained in her. It's like a lot of prejudice.
Yeah.
Like, and thinking about how diverse the rest of the group is, I can just imagine a big group of people who are not white approaching her, and she'd be like, ah! So
I feel like that's literally what she does, though. She's like,
and just like,
get off my lawn!
Oh my god, literally.
Was it her garden? Was it her lawn or her garden when this like?
She says, "Get off
Manhattan
my lawn,"
or someone,
but
not was Manhattan.
They were standing in her.
Yeah, that's right.
Was standing on her dill.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
right.
It'll grow
so
back.
mad.
Oh,
so annoying. Yeah, I think in terms of my favorite, I feel like I really have to say that I really loved. Yeah, I loved Queens, and I also loved Brooklyn.
Yeah,
I felt like Brooklyn. Yeah, like I just love Brooklyn was just. I don't know. Every time she had every time she just spoke or she was there, I was like, oh, I love you. Just let me be you. And yeah, and then with the Bronx, I just I really admire the Bronx.
Yeah.
No, what were you gonna say?
I said I loved Brooklyn's life history, the fact that she'd gone from being a bit of a creative anarchist and become this local politician who was actually quite a force to be reckoned with. I love that we only saw her over the space of a couple of days, but it was very obvious how she had grown and matured. And there was sort of a sense that, I mean, when it comes to a book that takes so little time, there's only so much character development you can do. But I think Jemisin did a fantastic job of showing us the character development that she had already been through to get to where she is today. And I loved that.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy the section where they were discussing the sexism in her lyrics from when she was younger and how she'd previously apologized for that and she'd been trying to make up for it. I was like, yes.
Which is something that we've been seeing a lot recently with a lot of artists and things like that coming out being I'm apologizing for these lyrics or for what I did in this piece of work because it at the time we did not think about it or it's not a reflection of who we are now. So I thought that was a really good part. Hey, Kaz, did you say who your favorite was? Who's your favorite?
I think favorite is also the Bronx, but being around the Bronx would be a different story. But as a character, I really loved her. And I do think it is partly because we spend most of our time with the Bronx. We get everyone else's backstory, but after that, we don't spend quite as much time in their head. So I'm definitely, but that being said, I also really love Brooklyn and Queens as well. I wish I got to see more of Queens, but that's also another reason I'm excited to continue the series, because we'll have so much more time to explore these characters.
Yeah. I think it'll be really good, actually. But like, also shout out to like Madison Avenue. Loved her.
Actually, I love Vanessa. Is that how you pronounce her name? Vanessa? I loved her. Young Bee.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. We will talk about her later in the spoiler section.
Oh yes,
Vanessa.
Yeah.
Yes,
I loved her.
Yeah.
Even from the beginning, I just loved her energy and how passionate she is, and just the dynamic between her and Bronca was awesome.
I loved it. So good.
So cute.
Yes,
there were a lot of characters,
car scene.
like little characters who I wanted to see a lot more of, but I can understand why we didn't in the space. Like Belle. Belle was like such a
Manny's roommate.
I was sad.
Oh yeah.
Like after the first scene, and then after that
was kind of part of that I had a bit of an issue in terms of like how Belle kind of left the narrative. Like I felt like it was a bit too clean. I don't know if that's just, because she's just like NK's just like, I don't have time to deal with this. Let's just put Belle over here kind of thing and just send them away. But yeah, like some interactions like that where supporting characters or other characters would just kind of be like, just kind of accept it and go, oh yeah, and then kind of just walk away. I'm like, would you really feel like that though? Like, is that really how this would go down? Like, it just felt a bit too convenient sometimes, but that's just my little...
They did have that part where they talked about how things fall into place for the cities.
Yeah.
Things become convenient. It's a part of their power.
Yeah,
so they have inordinate luck.
Yeah, which makes sense why Madison falls into Manhattan's path so conveniently each time. Yeah. But I definitely agree. But there was a point like 3/4 through the book where I was like, I want to see Belle again, even though I kind of get like where all the characters are. It would be weird, like it was so out of the way for Belle to pop up, but I was sad that we didn't get to see more of them. Especially since he had such a vibrant personality, and I really liked the scenes with Belle, Manny, and even Brooklyn as well.
Yeah, I think Belle will show up again in later books, especially if they have to deal with London. I think they will bring Belle on as like a, hey, how do we deal with this person? How do we not piss off this other city? Please advise.
It is a testament to Jemisin's writing that we are so engaged with these minor characters who we know in a few chapters.
Yeah.
Such characterization can be so tricky, and some people are not good at it, but Jemisin has just created these people, and here we are going,
I want more.
Where are they? Where do they go? I want more.
We will keep reading. Yeah. I think this is not my first Jemisin book, but I haven't. The other one I've read, I keep blanking on the name, like the 10,000 Kingdoms or something.
Yeah.
I have
100,000 Kingdoms.
100,000 Kingdoms. Thank you. It has been. I'm sorry. Did I wake you up? It has been years since I read it. I don't remember a single thing, so I need to reread. So it sort of felt like this was my first Jemisin book in that sense, but I am very keen to read everything now because of the strength of this book. Like, despite my criticism, I'm ready to read everything. I have already bought the 5th season.
Yeah, you just like,
yes,
read it. Yeah, and then maybe we can actually read the second book, maybe together.
I was so mad at myself because I've had the 5th season on my shelf for like 4 years at this point, and just never had the inclination of being like, yeah, I'm gonna read this right now, actually. And I'm just like, damn it, I've had you for 4 years. Why?
That's me with like half my shelf. It's actually so good though. Yes. You should do it.
I'm keen.
You should do it.
I think we like made an unspoken pact in the Brisbane group that we're just going to make that as a side book one month because so many of us want to read it.
I love that.
Will you read it?
Should we move to spoilers, or does anyone have more non-spoilers to talk about?
I'm just having a quick look through the questions to see if there's anything else we can discuss. We've naturally talked about some of these without needing to prompt ourselves.
There's so many questions.
I love how some people only stopped reading after the prologue.
You guys are cowards. No, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yes, that's a good point.
Going to call you names. No, I completely understand that because the prologue was difficult. The prologue was abstract and it was
prologue
thrown into it. And I actually want to reread it.
Isn't the prologue the short story?
That's what I remember someone saying yesterday, but that makes so much sense.
Because it's based off a short story, so I'm pretty sure that the prologue is the short story. Sorry.
Yeah, which makes sense.
It was difficult. I was probably like at least 50 pages in before I was actually in the book. It is not an easy book to get into. I completely get that. But I think it's worth pushing past. If those who stopped after the prologue are willing to give it another try, it is absolutely worth getting past that bit. And it is one of those books where once you get further into the story, what you've already read is going to make a lot more sense, especially by the end.
Yeah.
So it is not the kind of book that you want to DNF even if you're struggling with it, because the ending will bring a lot together.
It all comes together so well, and you're just like, wow, that's amazing. Loved it. Oh, the bird's going off. Sorry if you guys hear the bird.
You can, but I don't think he knows where it's coming from. No, he's just sleeping. He's like, I don't care. It's not close enough. He met a budgie once and thought it was really interesting. Didn't you? No. He's not here to join in. He's just here to sleep.
It's like, I'm snuggling. Leave me alone.
I'm snoozing. You put me in here. You picked me up. And now I'm just going to sleep. It's what he does in my classes as well. Hey. Okay, so we're moving to spoilers?
I think that's safe.
Yes. Let's go to spoilers. Because there's so much to talk about. So many things. Spoilers.
I'm going to spoil it for you. He doesn't care.
All right. What do we want to talk about first, guys? How shitty Staten Island is? Let's go.
Let's tear that bitch to shreds. Let's do it.
Island, you're letting me down. You're letting me down.
I wanted to root for her. She had so much opportunity for change. And she, it was very clear that there was the seeds in her to start that change with the right influences and with the right conversations.
Yeah.
But she was also, in her own way, a victim of the woman in white. And
yeah,
there was some definite Stockholm syndrome vibes there for me. Yeah. I was just like,
Yeah. Also, the things with her dad and her mum, and then that guy. What was the guy's name that he
Connell
brings into the house?
Connell.
Yuck.
Ooh,
Yuck. It's disgusting. I just felt like she was constantly being pushed down and in a position where she didn't feel like an independent person. So when she does kind of, embody Staten Island, and then she has the woman in white essentially kind of rescue her when it's happening to her. And it starts leaning on her. I felt by that point things were you could tell with Staten Island that it's just she's not going to join the others because she's already formed this bond with the woman in white.
Yeah. There's a sense of solidarity among women there that the woman in white preys on. And that in our friendships we've got that, and we lean on each other a lot, but in that for Staten Island, she couldn't tell the difference. And I think that's what frustrated me the most, that she was already so undermined by her family
Yeah.
She couldn't break out of that, and a lot of that was not her fault, but a lot of her actions are not good and need to be. I'm sorry, he's so distracting. So yeah, so there's a sense of like she was probably leaning towards that solidarity, and we could see it was bad, but she couldn't, and that frustrated me a lot.
Exactly. Like, it's not surprising the way that she reacted and didn't kind of change lanes, but it was sad to see. Like, you just had so much more hope for her.
Yeah, especially after some of the conversations with her mother. I was just like, come on, your mother is rooting for you. She doesn't want you to get trapped here like she is. Take the initiative. Oh, hi, Alex.
But I do have to say, though, basically the scene when Bronca, Brooklyn, Queens, and like Paolo go to get Staten Island, and when they're essentially like, you know, trying to tell her what's going on and like trying to explain things to her about the woman in white and things like that, and then for her to just not listen, it to me it almost felt like a situation where you're trying to explain why someone is being ignorant or bigoted, and they just like don't get it. They're just like, nah, I just not whatever. Like, I'm just gonna do whatever I'm gonna do.
It's just my opinion. It's fine. It's just my opinion.
Yep. Yeah. So like that. Yeah. Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn was just like
great.
Peak white. Anyway, so I just that moment. Yeah, I was just like, yeah. I can see that, like. Yeah, like Jemisin needed to throw in someone like, or a character that wasn't going to fit with the others, and that like they would have to really fight with to try and get her on board. But then, you know, we get someone else. My fave, love her.
Queen.
Can't remember her name now. My fave, but I can't remember her name. What was her name again? Vanessa. Love her.
Vanessa.
Love.
At least that's how it is.
Love how she becomes Jersey City.
Yeah.
That just gave me so much joy. Because she was like literally there the entire time. And it's just like,
yeah, I know.
Oh, and she becomes part of it, and you're like, yes. And it was very interesting because I know nothing about New York, but for the way for it to be described as like, you know, like Staten Island has always been separate to New York, like the actual city, I guess. And then for Jersey City to kind of come on board, because Jersey is always kind of like, they've always considered it, I guess, a part of New York. And so for that to kind of happen, I was like, yes. Yeah. Consider themselves part of New York. So I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, I really liked that, and how I think it was Paolo describes it, how what embodies a city isn't political, it's what the people believe.
The people
and how,
believe,
yeah. So I really like that symbolism there, and how at the end, because of how Staten Island behaves, they become completely separate.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite part of like the identity conversation that kind of happened within the book. It's like you can choose not to accept the parts of yourself that you don't like. You can choose to change. You can choose to be different.
Indeed.
I'm googling how to pronounce her name. How to pronounce Vanessa's name.
Vanessa is what the audiobook said.
Vanessa is the audio.
Vanessa, yeah, is the audiobook.
Okay.
We discussed this briefly, but the Americanization of Ashlyn is Island in the audiobook. Not
and it is,
which sounds like island.
Yeah.
I get it. But I hate it.
Yeah.
I get it, but I hate it. Rude. I do actually what I actually thought was really, really interesting, like obviously because throughout the entire book the woman in white is constantly there, and she's constantly trying to infiltrate with each like character and just trying to like turn them towards her side and all those kinds of things. But like obviously like one of my favorite parts, like when I say favorite, I feel like the standout part was when she talks to Bronca in the museum. and is essentially talking like about art and about because like what were they called? It was like that alt right group or something like that. The alt art, when they essentially come and like present that really
that scene when they were walking through their pictures, I was just like, you filthy fuckers.
Yeah.
Like it was disgusting. Yeah, when they like all of this. Yeah. Anyway, and then how they're basically saying, you know, oh, like this is our like, you know, our version of art. Like, why don't you just like accept that this is art? And she's like, no. And Els, what was that quote that she says about the one that art?
I tabbed it in a different color. You can't see in this light my tabs; they're so small. But it is on. No, I tabbed it in a different color specifically because I knew I'd look it up multiple times. It's on page 235, and it's something that Bronca says. Good art should be more layered than just thoughtless regurgitation of the status quo.
Loved that. It just got me. Yeah.
We talked about
that entire scene.
Half an hour yesterday in our Sydney group.
Sorry, because Megan started talking. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
One of our group works for a museum, and I'm a big art nerd, so we just had this fantastic conversation. Derailed the whole thing. Great. It was
shocking.
That's my favorite line in the whole
thing.
Sorry, am I moving around too much for you? No.
Obviously.
It's like you're meant to be perfectly still while I have my snoozle. How dare you?
I'm just so distracted by the cat.
I'll hide him. I can't.
Also, how crazy! I just want to talk about how like crazy that twist was as to who the woman in white was, like what city she was embodying. I was like, wow, what the fuck, Lovecraft? Hello, where did he come from? Yeah.
Well,
like, what was the?
I mean,
because what's the city's name?
References to Lovecraft name.
Roselia or something.
Right. Yeah.
I kept reading it and then missing the apostrophe and pronouncing it wrong.
Relia? Yeah.
Relia? Yeah. Yeah. It's like that sunken city that he has in that book of his. Well, the
prison of the entity called Cthulhu, that was super interesting. Makes sense with all like the references to the musicals.
And
right. Oh god.
Queens thought about Lovecraft. Someone thought about Lovecraft really early on.
Bronca. In terms of the art. Bronca.
I thought it was Brooklyn.
Must have come up quite a lot then.
Maybe it was a discussion amongst them all. I don't remember.
Yeah, they may have discussed it at some point.
Yeah.
We actually, one of the questions on our list is about that and how, do we think that in referencing and using Lovecraft, who was a flagrant racist in what is a very diverse book, was Jemisin reclaiming it in a way? Was she defying it? I can't remember the exact wording of the question, even though I wrote it. No, I didn't. I wrote it. No wonder I can't remember.
Do you think it was to reclaim or subvert the genre?
Subvert. Thank you.
I feel like it was definitely both. Like I feel like she was definitely intended. Oh God.
Stop
Matisse.
talking.
Stop it. You're ruining the moment.
Oh
my God.
I'm gonna put in there.
Yeah,
I can't do that.
That's okay. I definitely think both because, like, essentially what the woman in white embodies is just like white supremacy and all these like awful things, and then to have. Yeah, like you were saying, like have such a diverse cast of characters and then having the enemy essentially be someone that is trying to push them down all the time. And also referencing someone like an artist who did have those kinds of views. Yes, I think she was both reclaiming as well as subverting. So I mean you can look at it either way.
Yeah.
It was essentially just a big fuck you. That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was
especially because Lovecraft is such a big name author in that part of the genre.
Yeah,
it's
like the
very pervasive
horror genre. Yeah,
like
everyone says you should read Lovecraft.
Yeah, we refer to things as Lovecraftian. His name has become
synonymous,
an adjective for elements of the genre. So I absolutely loved that those elements were reclaimed by an author of color, and in a way that didn't really change them, didn't undermine them, but that wove them into a larger story. I loved that about
the villain. I just had to
I did have to just Google whether his name was actually Lovecraft, and it was. Anyway, I was like, was that like a pen name? But no, it was his actual name. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, that's just me.
I felt like it was also quietly educational to people that maybe like know the name and know like the issues, like the tenements of his work, but maybe don't know much about his history or how it's now viewed in modern society. They just see it as, oh, classic sci-fi, classic horror, love that, without like recognizing those issues that are present in his work. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I haven't even read any Lovecraft and don't know much at all. So I was like, this is great to know.
Yeah,
I've read his short stories, but yeah, not much.
Kaz, did you find it easy to follow despite not having read Lovecraft?
Yeah. Yes.
Like,
yeah. Yeah, I think N.K. Jemisin like does a really good job of contextualizing everything that she's exploring.
She does,
in it. If I don't have a very deep understanding of some of the knowledge, she frames it in a like with was it the artwork that the alt artiste brought in that Bronca's talking about Lovecraft? Maybe it was that. I don't know, but just an
the
example.
last painting that they
the one that she gets. Yeah, the one that she kind of just gets all sucked into it. Yeah.
And how she framed like with Lovecraft, and that obviously putting it in a very disturbing and disgusting context definitely made it easy to understand exactly where she was coming from.
Yeah, she wasn't really emphasizing it anyway.
The thing I liked about the reveal in regards to the Lady in White is they talk early on about how stories, etc., will create new universes. So it's clearly come from Lovecraft having written it, and now it's attempting to take over the universe that originated it, I guess.
Yeah. I loved that idea. And also sidetracking off from that, about Atlantis when they talked about it and how when cities die and are born, some universes cease to exist anymore.
Universes die.
So the one in which Atlantis existed is no longer in existence, but it's now a myth here. Like the remnants of it still.
I think about it as like an actual city that existed, but as a complete myth. Yeah.
I really
thought that was very. I loved all the characters' reaction to that, where they're just like, "Oh yeah, so like essentially, when you guys become New York, you're going to destroy like universes." And who is it? Queens. Queens like what?
Yeah, Queens really struggled with that.
Yeah,
just like what? Like, how dare I don't want to do that. And then when Paolo or Hong Kong is saying to them, "Oh yeah, so when you get to the Avatar, he has to just eat you."
Hong Kong just like lets it out of the bag. He's like, yep, and he's gonna consume you. Have fun with that.
Like, okay,
Paolo's like, I was gonna tell them later, but you might.
I was gonna ease them into it, man. Be cool.
And I love how when there was like, not necessarily eaten, but could be like spiritually or sexually, and Queens is like, sexually is no better. I was just like,
Queens is just the best. I love her so much.
All the reactions, just like, what? No. But yeah, Manhattan's like, I thought it was very interesting the connection that Manhattan had with the primary. I was like, I can't say the Avatar because I think of like Aang, but like the Avatar, essentially the Avatar. yeah. So like I thought that their connection was very interesting, especially at the very end when you're reading, like, you know, like I guess what is essentially the epilogue. I felt like that kind of came out of nowhere, but it also made sense in terms of him being essentially Manhattan and then having that vision. Yeah. Some things I felt like Jemisin's like, okay, this is what's happening, you're gonna have to roll with it. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's just, like, I don't get it, but let's just keep going. Let's go. We're on a ride. And that's what I really like about her, is that like she doesn't necessarily always like ease you into it and gives you all this context. Sometimes she's like, okay, so this is what we're doing, and you're just gonna have to just deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I like that she does it at the point in the narrative where you've built that trust with her already, and you're like, okay, I don't understand why this is happening, but I trust that you are going to explain it to me, and it will make sense in the context of the moment.
Yeah, I did actually. One thing that I want to talk about was like how the woman in white was kind of sending out all those little like worm things and like getting them to like infiltrate people's like minds and stuff. And then that scene with Manhattan and Belle in the park when that woman is filming them being like, oh my god, like you guys are perverts, like, and just like they're not doing anything, but she's being essentially like like drug dealers, like perverts, all that kind of thing, and they're just like, what? Like, what's going on?
They're admiring a rock.
Yeah.
And there's literally a couple having sex in the bushes, not that far off.
Yeah, but it's racial stereotyping. It's like the white people can get away with it, but the minorities can't. It ties really well into current events with like George Floyd and stuff. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. And it's just like the fact that we've seen so many videos of people doing this exact thing. It's like, it's not shocking. It's awful, but it like freaking happens all the time.
Yeah, like that woman with the dog in the park. Like that one just really, like, I don't know what it was, but when I watched that, I was like, are you serious? Like that reminded me, well, actually reading the scene in the book reminded me of that. So, yeah.
There is so much in this book. We talked a little bit yesterday about how she references gentrification. And then the
so many things. There's so many things to unpack.
A massive corporation that's buying up property and things like that. And it's just so well put together. All of these details, and so many of these details are things that we recognize from the world, and they don't necessarily get a lot of attention, but they're fully fleshed out in the book, no matter how simple they are.
Because it's everywhere.
It is.
Starbucks. I love that Starbucks had like a role in the story.
Oh my god,
that was great.
That was so funny.
I was listening to the audiobook on the way to work, and my office building sits on top of a Starbucks. As I was walking past listening to that scene, I was like,
don't
get away from me. Don't touch me.
Come don't attack me. Please, I'm fine. Yeah. There's so many things in this book that we could talk about for hours, but but she just does it in such a way that you're left thinking about things. Yeah.
And like we touched upon this a little bit about the concept of identity and tying into place. I just want to say that I really love that we focused so much on Bronca, who is an Indigenous woman, and how she plays such a large role within the story, being First Nation American. So I really appreciated that fact. Like, it's such a great diverse group, because obviously globalization, there's so many people with many experiences in America, but the fact that such a focus was on the Indigenous woman, I really appreciated it.
Yeah. And I also, you go, Sophia.
No, you go. No, you go.
Yeah. I just really enjoyed that she was like a upstanding and respected member of her community, and she had power within her sphere, and like she obviously like took a lot of shit still, but she was respected. And it's not something that we get to see enough in modern fiction.
Exactly. Agreed. I also love the tidbit because I think she mentioned she's a lesbian and her husband was gay, and they both kind of came out to each other.
That was so cute. I was just like, yes.
So funny.
I really
I was
like
like,
that.
wow, this is so cute. Bless. This is the kind of communication I aspire to have.
Yeah.
This is what it means to be supportive of your partner.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't
I don't
really
have much else to say.
reactionary politics.
Mhm.
That's been woven into a lot of our other discussion, really. The villain is reactionary politics. But it's another really well done, interesting thing that we could talk about for ages.
Yeah. There is so much like that Jemisin does with like when you look at how much stuff is in it, like comparatively a short space, that it is like, oh no, you definitely deserve your Hugo Awards. Like you are clearly a master at your craft. Like praise be unto N.K. Jemisin.
Literally. Oh my
So
god.
ridiculous.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, because like you mentioned, like it's a decent sized book, but it's not huge. It's 430 pages, but there is absolutely so much that she weaves into this story. It's mind boggling, but it doesn't
so much to unpack.
Yeah, like it can
It's
be
not
scary.
overwhelming.
Exactly. Like I didn't feel like it was a slog to get through or anything. She really does a good job of seamlessly weaving a lot of it into the narrative.
Yeah. That I think that's like definitely like her strength, where she is able to like, you know, write a really good sci-fi fantasy novel while also doing a commentary on like modern times, as well as like giving us a lot of food for thought at the end. Like when you finish it, like when I finished it, I was like, wow, like that was a lot. And it does leave you with a sense of like a bit of hope at the end. It doesn't leave you feeling leave you feeling flat or anything. But it did give me like, it does like then say like, here's your space now to kind of just digest everything I've told you and make up your own mind about things, which I think is very clever of her.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what other lessons that she pulls in future books, like with the new cities and things that we're gonna meet, because like Hong Kong talks about like the war and how he's marrying traditionalism and modernism within himself as well.
Yeah, actually, a question I have is like, what do you guys think will be the next cities that she does? What other cities do you reckon she'll do a book on in the series?
I don't know, but I'm really curious about how London failed.
Yeah, I want to know more about how London is like all kinds of messed up.
And because there was like a dozen different spirits for London as well. Like it was huge. And I just want to see I want to get more of that history. But hold on, where did I? Because someone lists some of the cities that are that the what is it? Better New York Foundation.
That they have footholds in.
Yeah, like they listed some of the cities, including like Sydney, but some of the ones that are obviously like cities that have yet to be born, but could at some point. They're just like prepping for the moment. So hold on, where did I underlined them?
I love how the map actually has little like tentacles drawn in.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Holdings in New York, Chicago, Miami, Havana, Rio, Sydney, Nairobi, Beijing, Istanbul. The list goes on.
I'm just curious to see like their elder council of all the cities that like the first cities.
Council of cities.
Yeah. I'm just like, if I don't see Rome in there, I'm going to be mad.
Yeah, because they don't specify who, they just call them council. Yeah.
I really want her to tie in Rome wasn't built in a day into that, because that would just be like, mwah.
That'd be great.
So good.
So good.
That would be amazing.
Any last thoughts before we wrap up our discussion?
Are there any questions
should
we
read
haven't
it.
covered that are in the doc?
I mean, probably. There's some,
Probably.
I cut out half of them when I went through because
We
3
had
or 4
so many.
questions, and some of them overlapped, and some of them I thought we'd just talk about organically, which we did. So I cut out half of them, and we still like have other things. But we've been having some great discussions, so that's great.
I'm
I feel like we
bolding
sort of spoke about everything.
We've pretty much touched on most of this stuff.
Oh, there was the pacing question.
Yeah. Maybe we talked about that yesterday because I have a memory of us talking about it. I actually thought the pacing was pretty good considering it only happened over the course of a couple of days. I never lost track of the fact that it happened over a couple of days, even though it probably took me longer to read it than the events were happening. I thought that the pacing was quite good for having so much compressed into such a short time frame.
Yeah, I felt like it could have been like slightly longer, like days wise. Like I would have liked a little bit more time to build up, and I'm sure that there are scenes that she cut for pacing purposes that I would just be like, yes, give me that. I want it.
Yes.
Give me deleted scenes. I would like to read it.
Yes, give me the deleteds, please.
Please.
Yeah, I'll be interested if in future, like in a future story, we make a journey to Jersey City, because we've seen all the other boroughs, but we didn't actually make it to Jersey.
That's true.
Yeah,
I'd be curious
Jersey
to
came
see
in
how they
last minute.
react.
I think that'd be good. It'd be awesome.
And I love that, like, the lady in white had the means to their destruction, and she let it go.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
She was just
haha,
like,
you're gonna regret that.
Yeah. I also did like the fact that she never gave the woman in white like a platform in the end. Like in the end when she's just like, oh hey, do you guys want to hear my villain monologue? Lol, no. And I'm like, yeah, no, we don't want to hear your villain monologue. No, we don't. So, no, we don't need to hear why. We don't need to hear. Which was good. Thought that was funny.
Your general whiteness explains it all.
Yes, it's like you are literally so white that we don't need. We don't.
Let me
need
just
you to
like
tell
get
us.
on the internet and like look at other white people speaking. Yeah, no, that's fine. I connect the dots. Don't worry about it.
I got it. Don't worry. I don't need it. Yeah.
No, I'm definitely interested to see how things play out, because obviously she's still got a hold on Staten Island. Like, she's not been completely vanquished. So it was getting to the point in the story where I was like, okay, is this villain going to be like destroyed completely, or is it going to be like an overarching thing in future books? I was kind of wondering how the story arc will continue.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really curious. I really want more books now.
Yeah. I'm ready for the next book now, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Oh.
Yeah.
I must look into it. All right.
I have nothing else.
Right. Yeah.
What is everyone reading now?
Let me check my Goodreads.
The 5th season, Rochelle. You're going to be reading that next.
I've got so many other things.
What's that?
Binti, the 3rd book in the Binti series.
Oh, I did the first one on audio, which was really good.
Yeah, I listened to the audio for the first 2, and I'm okay. So it's the last day of the reading rush, and I still have 3 books that I want to finish.
Well, I guess we know what you're doing after this.
I mean, I should be able to finish Binti. I've got the last bit of The Sun Is Also a Star to listen to, and I want to start and finish The Delicate Affair. It's a romance by a Black author. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that amidst everything
romance
else.
is so easy to read, though. Just like
I know that's the thing.
Devour it.
Like, I could do it, but will I fall asleep?
Coffee. I don't know.
I read a fantastic, it was not a romance, but it was kind of short. A fantastic book recently called My Sister the Serial Killer.
Oh, yes.
I
like
Braithwaite. It was like, it's only about 200 pages, but the chapters are really short and really easy to read through. And it's also, because it's a thriller, it's really hard to look away. So that one I very highly recommend. If you're looking for something shorter or something by a Black author or just something really, really good. That one's good. I'm reading.
I thought that one was really funny.
I really want to read that too.
I said I was going to do today and I didn't. But I'm quite close to the end, and she's one of my favorite authors, and I haven't had the time to read this since it came out years ago. Slowly catching up on her release schedule, but she releases 5 books a year. So
5 books a year. Are you serious?
I love her so much. Well, yeah, because she's got her she's just got her Mira Grant books, but then she's got all her Shauna Maguire books. So there's the the Way with Children novellas, there's her urban fantasy series with fairies, her urban fantasy series with monsters, her middle game series, the stuff she writes for Marvel, which is Spider-Gwen, and usually some other things in between. So
yep, she is a powerhouse of work.
Oh my
God. Please, Shauna
Insane.
Maguire.
Actually, I mean, Brandon Sanderson also has a very strict writing regime, and then he comes out with like 1,000 pages after 2 years, a year. I don't know. Insane.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
This is terrifying and wonderful. It's very good. Killer Mermaid.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. Well, I'm about to start reading The Vanishing Half, which I've heard a lot of good things about. Oh, I don't know where it is. Everyone that I've spoken to who has read it is like, oh my God, read it. It's amazing. I'm like, okay, I'll read it. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to read next. For the reading rush, hopefully. Yeah.
We can do this.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
I'm reading Rain the Earth by A.C. Corgan.
Oh, how is that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm enjoying it. I'm listening to it on audiobook, so I'm definitely getting distracted at points where I'm like, oh, is this my station? But I am enjoying it. It's got some interesting messaging about the power that women have, and there's also discussions about family and domestic violence in there as well, which is interesting to read.
Yeah, I liked that one. That was pretty good.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll probably announce today what our August book of the month is, so keep an eye on socials for that.
Because we decided about 5 minutes before we went live what it would be.
Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We will see you next month on Pierre's channel to discuss our next book of the month. But bye everybody.
Bye.
Alrighty.